Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. I'm a sick, under the weather Joe Jaquint, but I'm here at the Hole in the Ceiling studios. The rain is gone. The sun is back out here in Arizona. Man, it rained all day yesterday. I know Colorado getting hit. Jason says it snowed there almost every single day this week, but you know, let's face it, all that's great and wonderful in sports and weather and all those things, but Ukraine is on everyone's mind. The invasion has started. We got gold up, silver up, we've got oil up, natural gas up, gasoline up big as well. The Dow's down big. Jason, everybody's wondering what's going to happen. And, of course, you know, it really started. And if I had been here yesterday, I was going to say, you know, when Biden came out and made his little announcement about his sanctions, it was the equivalent of your teenage son sneaking out of the house, taking your car, picking up some buddies, getting drunk, crashing the car, hurting a bunch of people, tons of property damage, and when the cops bring your kid home, you say, you know what, young man, I think you should go to your room and think about what you did. I mean, that was Joe Biden. He's Jimmy Carter plus tax. And so what did Vladimir Putin say? What, that's it? That's all you're going to do? Oh, okay, well, I might as well just take over the whole country then.
I haven't tuned in this morning because I had trouble just getting here with the roads the way they are, but I did see last night that the troops are in there and there were some explosions. Is it beyond the two new states that Putin has declared free states? Yeah,
so they have the second largest city in the country. Just so you know, the second largest city in the Ukraine just happens to be, like a lot of eastern Ukraine, Russian speaking. It is outside of those two provinces, if you will. It appears that the Russians control that area. They are. I saw a video of them having troops coming in from Crimea and also from Belarus. So it does look like the Russians are being very tactical, trying not to hit the population centers, but taking out, Navy bases, air bases, things of that nature.
So yeah, this just smells of, I say it all the time, I think the whole thing is planned out and rigged. I think the whole thing is rigged. I mean, we were wondering, why is the State of the Union address 1 month late this year? Well, Joe, apparently it's because they needed to have this give Biden something to talk about next week. I guess that's what I see here, right? And what's he going to say next week?
I will say this. So here's what everybody's worried about. And here's what I'm worried about. I think all of us should be worried about, which is, what are they going to do now?
Yep.
What are they going to do now? Because there's only a couple of choices left. What they should have done, right, and they should have done it weeks ago, is pull back, right? Give more guarantees that Ukraine's not going to be part of NATO. We should have never said, let's face it, we were poking the bear, weren't we? We were sending military equipment and all this other stuff in there. It made no sense. But now it comes down to, what other sanctions are they going to put on the Russians? If they say we're going to take SWIFT out of the equations for people, not the trucking company, SWIFT. Think of it like a credit card processor. SWIFT is where countries pay each other for stuff. If that happens, add another $20, $30, $50 to oil. Right now, oil It's off the highs. Oil broke 100. Brent's over 100, but NYMEX crude right now 97 and change. And if that happened, I would probably add, I don't know, another $100, $200 to the gold price if they do that. Then there's concerns, will the Russians close the Black Sea? If they do that, just so you know, wheat is at, I'm assuming at a record high right now. That area through the Black Sea, almost 30% of all the wheat comes out of the Ukraine. So you have that palladium, which is on a huge tear today. The Russians, the largest provider of that. So it's going to be very interesting. The president now is allegedly going to speak at 12:30 Eastern. Apparently he had to sleep in today. He was tired.
Oh, boy.
I mean, this is ridiculous. You mean to tell me we didn't know what we were going to do if this happened? I mean, they've been saying, now think about this, for the last 2 weeks, they've been saying, Russia's going to invade tomorrow. Russia's going to invade in 10 minutes. Russia's going to invade in the next 48 hours. Where's the plan? Where's the president?
Joe, you know what I think the plan is? The plan is to see what's going to happen in the markets, and the reaction in Ukraine will be equal to that. So let's just say that the big crash we've been waiting for, hey, the Dow's going to go down to 12,000. Well, Dow down to 12,000, that would be sending troops into Ukraine. If we only have like a 30 or 40% sell-off, heavy sanctions, and when the markets crash, they can blame it on the Russians. That's to me, that's as plain as day as what's happening over there. All money.
Follow the money. We'll talk about that next. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Gold right now up $18, $19.27. Silver's up 25 cents, $24.80. They've been much higher early in the morning, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Gold's been as high as 1972. We had, when the U.S. markets opened, something very important, a very healthy technical thing happened. Because what you don't want to see is when the U.S. market closes and then it reopens and all of a sudden gold's 50, 60, and it doesn't matter, any commodity is a whole lot higher than where it closed the day before. They call that a gap, which then means, because the computers do all the trading. You guys got to accept it. The computer does whatever they put in there. That any rally in the gold price, we would have to wait when we'd be waiting for this pullback back to where we closed the other day. It did that today. It went all the way back to $1,913, and now it's coming back in the other direction. And again, I think for Jason and I both, any close over 1920 is going to be very supportive. It's going to be very interesting where gold closes today. It's all going to depend on the sanctions, right? What are they going to do? I think the one thing, at least for me, Jason, at least for right now, I think we could rule out NATO sending troops to Ukraine.
Yeah, right now. and then, to me, Joe, I think it's backwards. I really think it's backwards. I think whatever's going on financially worldwide determines what emergency has to happen. I've always thought.
Well, it's very funny you bring this out. So already this morning, if you're watching the Idiot Box, which I highly suggest to people you don't do, the cheerleading channel, they're already saying, you know what, because of this happened, the Fed's not going to, they'll raise a quarter point in March, but that's it. They're not going to do a half point, and we're probably not going to really do a lot of rate hikes after that even, Jason, right? So let's take that off the table.
Well, yeah, all the stock guys, they want emergency. They think that everything gets reversed. We start printing money, and we start paying a bigger budget for the military. They love all that stuff. Yeah, they want to see reverse.
Right, and this just means more inflation. But this is just breaking that there is a huge debate raging. And again, I don't know what these guys have been doing. And of course, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the president. I'm talking about the European Union, right? I'm talking about all of our NATO allies. You would think they would have already had an agreement of what to do when this was going to happen, because they've been saying it's going to happen for weeks. It all has to do with SWIFT. It is being reported that Boris Johnson is pushing very hard to kick Russia out of SWIFT. Now, that would be, I'm going to tell you right now, that is going to be very expensive. And expensive as far as, like I already said, wheat and oil and natural gas and all these things are going to skyrocket. But he's getting pushback from the European Union and primarily Germany, because one of the things you got to remember, payments goes both ways. And apparently the EU banks, Jason, are like, hey, wait a minute. Russia owes us money. Right? They got to pay us, right? We can't just kick them out. How are we going to get our money?
I guess what they don't realize is that a digital currency worldwide is what's coming, and they don't really need a lot more banks. That might be the fight they're having right now.
So it is, to Jason's point, this is all about what are they going to do next. And again, I think right now, I think Russia feels like, hey, they're not going to do anything. What, are they going to tell me to go to my room and think about it? Right? Oh, okay. You're not going to even take away my cell phone? I got my laptop and my tablet. I got my computer. Yeah, great. Believe me, if you've got teenage kids, they spend all their time in the room already. It's not even a punishment. And I think that's what the Russians feel like right now. Hey, that's not what they're not even punishing us. So obviously, we should just go ahead and take it out. It remains to be seen. How far will they go? Will they topple the Ukrainian government right now? And again, I don't know what the president's going to say in a few hours, but right now, that's my guess. My guess is Russia's going to take out the pro-European, pro-NATO government, install a puppet regime just like they had in the Ukraine for decades before this. That would be my guess, because I get the feeling Russia doesn't think that the rest of the world has the balls to do anything about it.
Yeah, Joe, I agree with that analogy. I still, though, to me, Putin's just like the United States president. He takes orders. Anyone who thinks Putin is making decisions, you're kind of foolish. You know, the financial elite make all the decisions. There's the big club, and Putin's at the bottom end of that big club. He's a figurehead. So Joe, I swear, whatever Putin decides to do, whatever Biden decides to do, whatever the NATO and the European and the Prime Minister of England, whatever they decide to do, they're not leaders. They're not making these decisions. Somebody else is telling them what to do. So, Joe, I really think that whatever's going to happen in the markets will be the size of the emergency. And I think they don't really know how big. Let's just say there's going to be a market crash. If it goes down, let's say Dow 12,000. That's UN and NATO troops and Americans in Kiev, you know, and Russians pushing towards Kiev. That's what kind of emergency that would be. But if it's just they stop at the eastern side, they solidify the position, maybe they try to scare the prime minister of Ukraine out of there and try to replace him, but there's not really a buildup of troops. That'd only be like a market drop of, 10, 15, 20,000 points. Kind of what we saw in 2020, Joe. It won't be the massive crisis that they're trying to build it up to. That's how I see it, Joe. It just seems like such a contrived, fake emergency. Why does anyone ever, care about such a thing? It really, in the end, it doesn't really matter. Let Russia and Ukraine deal with Russia and Ukraine. That's the way it should be. But they need an emergency.
Well, again, right, and it's these borders that were drawn up, haphazardly, and we've done it all over the world where we just drew lines and said here's the border, and yet wait a minute, hey, you've got 30, 40 miles of the eastern coast of the Ukraine that all speak Russian. I mean, we've got all these different things happening out there. And then how about Taiwan? What does this say to China?
I know.
Right, and then I had the thought this morning. What if China and Russia are working together? And China says, hey, you go first. And then let's see what they do. They're probably not going to do anything. And then we're taking Taiwan. I don't know. Obviously, I hope that isn't the case, but why not, right?
Well, if one emergency doesn't work, you have to have another one ready. So they've got North Korea launching missiles that they're not talking about. They got that one in their back pocket. And then there's China, Taiwan. There's plenty of global emergencies ready for the news to just sink into whenever they're ready for it, Joe. Like I said, it's all about money. We'll see what happens in the markets, and then the emergency will reflect that. It's the way it's been for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just really interesting as we're watching all of this play out today, again, for the second time in a matter of a few weeks. The Federal Reserve says they're having technical difficulties today, and they will not be purchasing treasuries. They've rescheduled this treasury purchase to happen tomorrow. And it's kind of weird that we're seeing some of these issues because, again, I think these are things that they're going to use for this digital currency. Now, look at all these problems we're having. Right? We keep having technical difficulties. I mean, we've been having bond auctions for like 50 years. I've never seen so many technical difficulties. This is like the third time this year they've had to announce some kind of putting off of buying stuff due to technical issues.
Right, Joe, and when I'm going to keep talking about it. December 9th of last year, many countries and many banks got together in Israel and planned a cyber attack on the financial system of the world. You don't practice something because it's not going to happen. You practice something because you're getting ready for it to happen, whether it's a forced thing or it's an actual cyber attack on the system. But yeah, I mean, how many times have we heard about cyber attacks looming on the horizon, right, Joe? And that's the next emergency, right?
Exactly. So looking here at oil right now, oil's up $5.55. That is NYMEX crude. We'll call it Texas sweet crude. Brent crude is up $7.33 at 104. Unleaded gasoline futures are up 16 cents. They've been up as much as 20 cents. If this price holds, and let's just say it holds today, it holds tomorrow, through the weekend, by this time next week, we're going to see gas prices jump anywhere from 20 to 30 cents a gallon. And again, it'll be crazy how all of this is going in. By here in Arizona, that'll put a gas over $4 a gallon here. And in some spots, the wrong spots, we can be seeing $4.50 a gallon.
Joe Biden said in his statement when he started announcing sanctions, was it yesterday, 2 days ago, whatever it was, he said, well, unfortunately, the oil prices are going to go up. We're just going to have to deal with that. And I really feel like his State of the Union address, which has probably already been written like a week or two ago, I think he's going to come out and say, well, because of Russia, Americans are going to have to do their part in this time of financial stress. But just remember, it's all Russia's fault. It's all the truckers' fault driving to Washington, D.C. It's all somebody else's fault. It's not the Fed. It's not the banks. My buddies that get me elected. It's the Russians, and we're all just going to have to suffer through this together. That's going to be the speech, I think, Joe.
It's kind of funny you bring that up. I would not be surprised if that is the case. I got to throw this out there a little. Changing gears just a little bit because it came across my desk yesterday while I was sitting home sick. But due to soaring material cost, and they're saying supply chain constraints, but it's about cost. LG Electronics, which has a big solar factory in Huntsville, Alabama, says it is going to close the plant because of a variety of contributing factors, mostly that the prices have sent solar-grade polysilicon prices up more than 550% in the last 2 years. And they say the plant, which was opened in 2019, had 160 employees, 60 contract workers, says it is going to cease operations as they no longer can compete in the solar panels.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that solar and wind power at some point in the near future is all going to be government run, Joe. Obviously, it can't stand on its own 2 feet. It's been heavily subsidized, which means it's just government control already anyway. So your solar and your wind power, it'll be like a utility, and it'll be very tightly run by the government, Joe.
I'm going to say this right now. A huge miscalculation done on purpose. It doesn't really matter. You cannot build enough solar panels and wind farms to replace what's crude oil and natural gas. And now we're paying the effects of this. I think we're going to see $100+ oil for years. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe Jaquint, Jason Walker. As I'm battling here, been under the weather the last few days. I like Jason's answer when I was talking to Jason yesterday. Because it's just you're losing all this weight and all these toxins are coming out. But I'm down almost 40 pounds, so that's almost halfway to where I want to lose 100. So we're getting there, Jason. Yeah,
I know a little bit about weight loss and weight gain. So I've experienced it with a lot of friends and family. So it's an interesting process.
I will tell you right now, it sucks.
You got to get through it.
You want an idea? Yeah, don't get so fat. Then you won't have to do it. That's what I've been telling myself the whole time. But any event, the show must go on. Listen, we've got just all kinds of crazy moves happening. Prices are going to be, when you call, the prices are just going to be what they are. You know, if you called early this morning, you're going to pay more than right now, and then by later this afternoon, you may be paying more again. But here's the problem. Product. Just not a lot of it. I've got 50 20s right now. And literally, I got this email 5 minutes ago. 50 20s. Right now, 20s this morning were $2,245. Jason, that's like $100 more than what you sold them for yesterday.
Yep. Yeah, things can change very quickly. I mean, how many times have we said it, Joe? If you had it sitting around a week ago, a month ago, last year, it was time to put it in. Doesn't mean it's not time to put it in now, because it's going to continue to do this, I think, through the entire year, Joe.
Yeah, gold's going to all new all-time record highs, and it's not even going to be close. But right now, I've got 50 20s at $2,200 at 800-951-0592. I suggest you take advantage of it, because I don't think this situation is going away anytime soon. I think we're going to see the sanctions. I don't know if they're going to kick Russia out of SWIFT or not. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it would make things worse sooner. But one way or the other, I think what we're really setting ourselves up for before this ever even became an issue. Oil was going well over $100 in the next 90 days. All as this does now, Jason, is puts the possibility of $200 oil in our face. And it's so funny that, as we say, follow the money. Why do I get a feeling that the Federal Reserve will use this as the reason not to fight inflation?
No, I agree, Joe. I agree. And you know, you can go to a different way of looking at gold hitting all-time highs, which for dollar amount, it's it happened in 2020 in August. But if you do inflation adjusted, there was a time in we all know 1980 there was a spike in the commodity prices during inflation, and inflation adjusted gold was $2,400 in 1980. I fully believe that gold will get there this year, and go ahead of that 2,400 from the 1980 high, Joe. It seems obvious with how many possible emergency they got loaded and ready to go. COVID's always there. I mean, these guys are still wearing masks. They're still talking about vaccines. As everyone's stopping to wearing masks, even in Colorado, the vaccine mandates are dropping. And it's like, COVID's kind of going away. We all know that's not the case. At any moment, they can reload that one. And just like you said, Joe, Taiwan is sitting around there. North Korea is sitting around there. Ukraine is turned into the biggest news item in the whole world. And really, I'm desensitized to all that, Joe. I mean, until I see a real war, a real war, a real organic couple of countries really wanting to go at it, this is all economics, Joe. It's just all economics.
Yeah, so and absolutely. And there's a couple of reports that Russian troops are entering Kiev, the capital. Don't know if that's true or not. CNBC is saying that appears to be. And I said this a few days ago. If Russia wants Ukraine, they'll take it in a couple of days. It'd be faster than the Taliban took Kabul. But Reuters is now reporting that Western banks, this is where it gets tricky, are refusing to offer letters of credit for Russian crude oil, which essentially right now, Russia, just so you know, Russia exports 7.5 million barrels of crude and crude oil products every day. And so when we're sitting here and we're wondering what's going to happen with sanctions, as it sits right now, Reuters, citing anonymous sources, saying that Western banks are not issuing letters of credit to buy Russian oil. If this continues, we're going to see crude oil prices go a lot higher.
Yeah, Joe, I mean, $100 oil seems like any day now, so I'm guessing, how about, for sure by Tuesday, I can see.
Well, let's face it. Listen, Brent crude's already over 100.
Right.
NYMEX crude broke 100. It's off the high, but if they're not going to issue letters of credit for Russian crude oil, we can't make up 7 million barrels of crude. Now, obviously, the Chinese and the Russians probably have their own deal, but this is just going to make everything so much more expensive in Europe. Are we going to see fertilizer plants close again? Are we going to see all of these things happen all over again? Power bills doubling and tripling and quadrupling. So very interesting how all of this is going to play out.
Yeah, Joe, it's kind of interesting what's not in the news. The mainstream media was bubbling up and stories regularly about inflation. They just started talking about it. Oh, Biden's got to do something about it, and now with the Ukraine, there's nobody talking about inflation anymore, Joe. It's very quietly left the mainstream media and news. It's going to be a sidebar. Inflation's going to be the symptom of the war, Joe. That's what it's going to be.
I think that's what we're setting ourselves up for. It's going to be a symptom. The Federal Reserve is going to have cover now to say, man, you know what? It does us no good to raise interest rates because of the Russians.
How can we do our job when you guys can't handle Ukraine?
It's the Russians. I mean, that's why Donald Trump beat Hillary. It was the Russians.
The Russians. It's Russians or it's coronavirus. Those are two big. You point the fingers at those two things, and that's the whole world's problems right now, Joe.
Well, to prepare yourselves against the Russians, call Patriot Trading Group. $20 gold pieces, $2,200 at 800-951-0592. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason here. I got gold up 16 right now, 19 and a quarter. Silver's up 25 cents, 24.80. The Dow is down just under 700 points, and apparently, we are still waiting to hear from the president, but U.S. officials are now saying Russia intends to replace the Ukrainian government. So, at least in the eyes of the Biden administration, that looks like, Jason, that is going to be the plan. That the Russians apparently are going to try to topple the Ukrainian government and put in a pro-Russian government.
Oh, it's very American of him. How many times have we done that in Central and South American countries and other countries around the world, Joe? I mean, and it's not American. It's not the people. It's never the Russians that are doing this. The people. It's not the American people. It's these centrally bank-run governments that pull all these stunts for economic means. How many times do we have to see it? We're so shocked that Russia is doing it. I mean, how many times have we seen America and other? I mean, this is China. China's wanting to do this now in Africa, topple over governments and turn them into Chinese economic government-run societies. It's globalization. It's the big club, Joe. That's what we talk about every day.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just a matter of time from here. I think no matter what happens, we're going to, and we'll see how much this adds. Does this add $10 to $20 to crude oil? Right now, it's going to do more than that to Europe. Or does this thing escalate and does it add $50? Does it add $100? And that, I think that's just going to depend upon the response. And right now, Jason, at least it appears to me, that we're going to let the Russians do it. In other words, we're gonna do everything but. Now, I understand where these banks are coming from. Hey, we're not loaning anybody nothing for Russia's commodities, nothing, because we don't know if we're going to get paid, yep. Right? So until that gets resolved, that's going to be the one part I think that's going to be very, very interesting. Is how long does it take? Like I said, I wouldn't be shocked by Monday that Russia's in charge of the whole country. That wouldn't surprise me at all if that's really what they want to do. The question then will be, are the sanctions that are coming, are they going to allow for Western banks? And when we talk Western banks, we're not just talking U.S. banks, European banks, right? Pretty much all the other banks outside of probably the Chinese banks. Are they going to allow countries lines of credit to buy Russian commodities, whether it be crude oil? By the way, aluminum prices are going to be dramatically affected by this. Palladium probably the most, wheat, oil, all of those other things. If they're not allowed, then this thing is going to add, it's going to be a higher cost. Right now we're going to be talking, hey, instead of $10 or $20, right, are we talking $30, $40, $50 because they're denying Western banks the guarantee that they're going to be able to get paid, Jason?
I think you're going to see oil just slowly just keep going up every single day. It really seems with the different things that have been going on the last 6 months to a year. I just think you see, because we have inflation, Joe, I think you're just going to see oil just continue to just keep going up. I don't think they want to see oil go up $10 or $15 in one day. I don't think they want to see gold go $50 to $150 up in one day. And I don't think they want to see the markets drop 1,000 points in a day or 2,000 points in a day. So I think what we've been seeing is the Dow goes down 300 or 400 points one day, 300 or 400 points another day, 400 or 500 points another day. Something that people don't really get excited about anymore. I mean, face it, with COVID, we had those 1,000 and 2,000 point days. That was, I mean, it was shock and awe basically, right? But now, Dow's down 600 points. We're kind of desensitized to that one, Joe. It's like, okay, well, it's down a little bit. It'll come back somewhere in the future, right, Joe? I think that's kind of where we're at. Oil's at over 100. Well, it only went up $1 a day or $2 a day. If it gets high for a while, it'll be all right. I think the whole thing is it'll be all right. Somewhere in the future, it'll be all right, Joe. I mean, I'll go back to this. In 1929, the markets went down. The S&P is the best example. It didn't come back for 27 years or something like that. And then in 1968, it did it again. It went down in 1968. It didn't come back till 1993. I think the market's going down. We're not going to see it come back in a year. It's not going to be 2020. It's going to go down. It's going to stay down, and maybe for a long time, Joe.
It's going to be interesting. I have no idea how this is going to play out. I think this was handled badly from the very beginning, and I think it continues to be handled very badly already. Best case scenario, it doesn't look like anybody has a real firm plan. Doesn't look like we can get all the, and really, what do we need? We need the U.S., you need Germany, probably the UK, and, let's throw France in there. You need those four countries to agree, and it doesn't even look like they can do that. So to Jason's point, I think this is exactly right, and I think this is, again, this is going to be one of these slow drips where you see huge increases in energy cost, and it's going to be, like Jason said, hey, it may not be $20 in a day, but it's $1 here, $2 here, 50 cents here, right? And then, of course, again, this is bad now, but what happens when somebody else has a hiccup and some refinery gets shut down or this or that happens? Then all of a sudden, next thing you know, we turn around and oil's $125, $150 a barrel, and inflation's just raging out of control. And why do I got the funny feeling the Fed's going to do nothing? Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back. Final segment coming up. 800-951-0592. Final segment for the day. $20 gold pieces right now, $2,200 as the Russians have invaded Ukraine. According to White House officials, regime change is the goal there. But really, are we in decline? Is this it? Is this what it looks like? Think about, what was it, 2020? China took over Hong Kong, right? Even though we had all these agreements that, nope, they weren't going to. They do 2021. We hand Afghanistan to the Taliban. Now 2022, Russia takes over Ukraine. I mean, is it 2023, China takes Taiwan? I don't know.
Joe, I said Tuesday. I just said arbitrarily, just as a marker. I said I thought Tuesday. It just you got to pick a date. I don't know. Point of no return, Joe. I just feel like we've passed it as far as fixing what has gone on here. There's ebb and flow in world economics and world powers. The world reserve currencies has been in different countries. It's always about 100 years in each country. And this stuff happens, and I don't think we can. I don't think the people that are making the decisions are in a position to change things or reverse course, Joe. I mean, let me read something real quick. Listen to this. You and I don't propose the federal budget. The president does. You and I don't have the constitutional authority to vote on appropriations. The House of Representatives does. You and I don't write the tax code. The Congress does. You and I don't set fiscal policy. The Congress does. You and I don't control monetary policy. The Federal Reserve Bank does. If the tax code is unfair, it's because they want it unfair. If the budget is in the red, it's because they want it in the red. If the armies and the Marines are in Iran and Afghanistan, it's because they want them there. If they do not receive Social Security but are on an elite retirement plan not available to the people, it's because they want it that way. There is no insolvable government problems, which means the problems that are here, Joe, are purposely caused. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, man, it's hard to argue with any of those points being made right there, and we watch all of this play out. It just, I don't know.
It sucks because we know there's a better path. It's just that there's a bunch of elitist people that are in it for themselves, and be damned to the people at the bottom, Joe. This is why we do what we do. We try to, there's only one person that's going to take care of you and your family. It's you. Don't wait around for the government.
How much you want to bet that this weak president we have is going to sign a new nuclear deal with Iran?
Yeah.
How much you want to bet?
That's very, very possible. Yeah, absolutely, right? Joe. Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead, get a nuclear. We don't care. We need the oil now because I screwed up on this one. So let's let you guys off the hook. I mean, I see that coming. Just another epic failure by this administration, and it just really. I mean, gosh, the shades of the '70s, right?
Yep.
Right. I mean, we had the energy crisis of the 70s and a weak Fed chief. And then obviously we had turmoil at the White House with Nixon and all that stuff. And then we end up with this ridiculously weak guy in office. I mean, this is a carbon copy.
Well, Joe, like I said, the markets went down in '68 and didn't come back till '93. We all know that we were taking off the gold standard. Economically, the rest of the countries of the world, they wanted their gold back. That's why things went crazy. Hey, they were at a position like the Fed is now where things were unfixable. They had to come up with the petrodollar. They came up with something, Joe. That's what's going on right now.
Yeah.